Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. This is Jenny from Polly's Paper Studio, and this is a Scrap Your Stash card. I'm using some dies to create a cutout frame, and I'm also using some sequins to create shaker bits and a few flowers and a stamped sentiment. So this will be a very easy to create and quick card using scraps. Let me just show you here what I'm working with. So what I've got here is my scrap bin, and this is one of them. What I usually do when I have finished working in a collection, if I've gotten enough projects out of it, or I'm down to not having focal images or just some stickers that won't work, is I cut all the paper into 6x6. And if I cannot get a 6x6 out of it, I will cut it into 4x6 and then on to like an A2 size. So now I have all these ready when I want to create, and I can just begin to flip through this bin, and I use it much more than I ever did if I had to sort through collections and open sleeves and go through papers. So now if I want to make a card that has a vintage floral, I'll pull this one out, and then I know that I want to put it with pink. So I'll just flip back through here and see that works with that. So I can already see a card, and this would have not been together because they're different collections by different companies. So now I'm just looking at it as a color or a pattern, and then I can create with that. I really do get much more use out of them cut into this size. Basically, I'm a card maker, so this is the size that I can work with. But you see that I can just flip through and find patterns that I like, and then I don't feel regret over having to cut into a full 12x12 sheet because sometimes you just don't want to cut into a full sheet of paper. Now I've got these ready to go. So I've got pinks in here. I had some vintage patterns that I liked that had some sewing patterns or typography. So pinks in this bin. I've got some neutrals here. These are always good for cards, and some that have beautiful vintage writing on them. This is, like I said, just one of the bins. I've got yellows. And I don't tend to use yellows too often, but if I need it, I've got it here and it's ready, and I don't have to go digging through my stash to find it. So we're going to have a room tour very soon. We're just switching out a piece of furniture that belongs to my son that is kind of too big for my room, and it doesn't really match. But when we do that, I will be able to share with you how I store all of these papers. And I do have quite a collection because I get it from very generous design teams. And so I will show you how I keep my collections together when I'm working with them, and then when they have retired, what I can do so that they really stay usable for me. So let's get into making that card. Since my card is going to be an A2 size, I've cut my pattern paper at 4 by 5 1/4, and then I've added this oval cutout using the stitch oval die here, and removed the center section of that front panel. And then I've used the dies again, but I've nested them to cut out this frame of the gingham paper. So what I want to do is add this to the front of the card, and that will frame the opening to the shaker. So I just want to line that up and adhere it to the front. Since I used the same die, it will line up perfectly. And that will frame out the center where the shaker part will be underneath. So I want to add a little bit of wet adhesive to the inside of this card, which will hold the acrylic piece in place. So I'm kind of avoiding that center section because I don't have the best luck with adhesives, and I tend to get it everywhere. So I'm just going to very carefully add this piece of acrylic. It was some leftover packaging. And I just want to press that in place. You see how that glue is squishing out, so that is why I was being careful not to get it very close to the opening. Now what I want to do is add the dimensional part. This is the Scotch or the 3M tape that is adhesive on both sides and foam in the middle. I'm going to use my non-stick scissors. If you don't have these yet, you will really love to have them. They are made from titanium, and so you can cut through all those adhesives and not get stuck with your blades being all dirty. So I'm going to just add one layer. Sometimes I do two, but I don't want this to be so bulky. So I'm just going to clip that and do the other side as well. Okay, so this is going to be the top of the shaker. I need to create the bottom. This is just some nice card stock with matching color, and then I'm going to add this pattern paper, which is what will show through that frame on the front. Some people are good at flipping all the shaker parts. I am not. So I'm just going to add mine here on the bottom and then adhere the top over it. So these are some iridescent sequins. I have some white ones here as well. And then a little bit of some pink in this one. And you do not really want to overfill that. I make that mistake quite often, and then I regret it because all the pieces get jammed up and they don't want to move. So now I can remove the foam. And I noticed when I applied that foam that a part of it overlapped. So I'll just put it here at the bottom, and that will be hidden underneath the flowers, and secure that in place. So now all of my shaker parts will move. Now I want to secure this onto my card base, which I have prepared, and it has the inside finished with room to add a sentiment. And I'm just using the leftover bits that I created while I was doing the die cutting. So I'm going to add that right here to the card base. I want to leave another little border of that white showing, and that will help me get it lined up. Okay, so now we have the shaker part completed, and I can begin to add the details for the top. So I have taken my little Birdie stamps. This is a postal special, has a lot of very cute sentiments on the banner or the flag shapes. I used my Misty and the pink from this Vicki Boutin color wheel, and when the ink was wet, I added the Wow embossing powder so that I could heat set that and add a little bit of a raised section. The Vicki Boutin ink does stay wet for quite a while, so that was easy to get that to adhere. So I'm just going to put that there temporarily and then add the rest of the flowers, which are also Little Birdie Crafts. And I think that this color works really well with the patterns from my scrap stash. Got two pretty sparkly lighter color flowers here, and then that pink for the middle because that is just going to coordinate perfectly. I'm leaving just a little room for the bow to be added because I want to squeak that in underneath that pink flower. So this is just a little loopy bow that is made from organza that has been stitched, and rather than doing a 4 loop bow, I made this 6 because it's just a little bit thinner than what I usually use, so I want to get the same amount of volume in this bow. And I think that fills in the corner very nicely. So last but not least, we want to decide where that sentiment is going to go. I kind of played around with it. I thought maybe that was cute, or over here and down here as well, but that leaf sort of hid it. So I think I'm going to decide to add it right here. Okay, so here is a quick update on this finished card. When I had it fully assembled, I was really not happy with the fact that the sequins were getting jammed up. I thought I would be able to get away with one row of that foam tape, but really it did need to. And you have to diagnose issues with your cards as you're going along, and if there's a problem, almost always it can be fixed. So what I did was I took that top layer back off and added more foam adhesive. So now we have two, and we've got a much better movement inside that shaker. So do not be afraid to rework something if it just isn't what you had hoped for when you designed it. So that is it for our finished shaker card from scraps. If you enjoyed this project, give me a like, leave me a comment, and if you're not already, I would love for you to subscribe. As always, I'm wishing you a happy and productive day, and I thank you so much for watching. Bye!